Hello. Oh, right. Save RAM didn't update again. Should have checked that before I started. Oh, just need 1 minute then. I don't know why it does this. Let's try that again. I'm gonna need to this. Yeah, the reason why a lot of emotes render like half size is because in this particular chunky overlay thing I'm using, if it decides something is too large, meaning over 28 by 28, it just halves it until it's within 28 by 28. Even though Franker face things will accept up to like 32 or I think. Anyway. With her father's swordsmanship and mother's magic, Anita became an exorcist. Her skill was known throughout the land. One day, the countries neighboring the former kingdom of Raxus asked her to drive out the demons infesting the ruins of Raxus Castle. Anita drove them out easily and entered their stronghold at the country's borders while pursuing the fleeing demons. So they definitely shape her up to be awesome, but let's see how she actually plays. Well, she has some hair, for sure. And some color. Probably not my favorite design, to be sure, but he is definitely performing well. He has a ton of base MP too. Yeah, the portrait is kind of a problem. She's so... She definitely has her father's face hair. Oh no, deer heads. Get out. Deer heads are the worst. Stop it. Seems like they get knocked down from any hit at all, so make sure you're hitting them with strong hits. Okay. This is a little crowded. You're not supposed to be able to kick me out of my picks. How your AI works. And this is practically nutty how much stuff is going on in this room. Oh. That's not where I wanted you to go. In the MP. I wonder if she started with so much MP because I've been building up my MP in other generations. Maybe there's some carryover there. She's not very strong, though. We can fix that. Whoops. A little too close. Gem is very appreciated. Does her eye just look like extremely angry, or is that just me? Yeah, that place was dense. He was pretty serious, at least. We're just going to the desert in general. I don't remember ever going to just open desert before. I'm really curious to see if she keeps her stuff between Chapter 4 and 5. Actually, I'm not sure if it even remains her in Chapter 5. I guess we'll find out. I'm glad I came out of that last area with as much stuff as I did. That was a few fairly close scrapes in there. Wait, no, I've been to a place like this before. I must have just been in the first route, because it feels like a long time ago. Armored beetles are odd, and not just because they're not beetles at all. Probably the highest defense enemy in the game. But also, once you knock them down, you can just keep hitting them and it's over. Meanwhile, this place is a lot emptier and has a lot more big potions just sitting around. Oh hey, it's you. You haven't been killed. In the other routes, he always ended up dead before you get out of the ruins. Well, that's not happening. Well, I mean, in this game, violence kinda does solve everything. Well, that was advantageous. Congrats, Wilhelm. You're the only non-dragon in the game that can do a shockwave. We're actually learning a lot about things we never saw from the other perspectives. I like her. Granted, having been on the other side of the equation, we know they're actually working for the better of people, but we have no perspective that would lead us to trust that. So, we're not gonna. Also, I guess those people that we were playing as that did that don't exist. I'm going to take the earrings, because I've never actually gotten those before, so I'm interested to see what they do. I would have liked one of the lithographs, but I just don't have the stuff. Oh. Reduces MP. Now that's amazing. You can't hide your money from me. So literally the oldest trick in the book at this point. I wish the armored beetles would do more often, but once you knock them down once, you can just keep hitting them. That's the only thing they can do if they happen to try before you finish a combo. Oops. Seems like it only cuts the cost by 1, but that is really easy to total up to enough to let you cast more total times. Especially for the cheaper things like the basic attack spells. Darn it, I only got 1. Oh, come on. Fine. I'm just trying to exercise you, and you go not hitting me. Are you dead? Scorpions take a long time to actually die, so I wasn't sure if it was going or not. Where was the locked door? That's the real question. I did not really notice one, even though I probably just walked by it. Oh, be in here. Bingo. Did I say I hate arrow traps? I mean, I love them. Ooh, talisman. I will have this. I don't care how many times I mess up and get hit. I need that. Come on. There we go. It only took most of my health. Oh, hey. I'm still not used to those. Come on. These things are so bad. They're just walking damage. They hurt you on contact. Like, there are only like 2 things in the game to do this. Hi, bird. Okay, now if I was up there, I would be able to go across. Forget it. Warbird can live. Warbird is too annoying to fight. You're too annoying to fight. Learned my lesson about those. Alright, platform, I know you're out there. Platform? It doesn't go over to the right, it only goes left to center. Find another way now. Alright, deer heads. I have a present for you. Well, that took some work. Darn it. Should have expected that. I'm gonna wait for the cycle because I don't want to flip up and have to go all the way around again. Speaking of slip up, still a bird up there. Alright, deer heads. You gotcha that time. Try going back this way and see if I've done things over here. Now that I have a second key. Okay, we should be approaching the end of the area. Oh no. Get out of here. Fungus. You are the worst. Check for stuff. Now we're good. Ah, it's you. What up, Halfus? What, have you never seen a double lance before? Well then. Yeah, they actually marked her portrait with. Okay, now we're just going all the way to the mountain. Granted, we already have done a few missions here, so going to the second half now is a decent idea. There's still like 4 or 5, maybe more areas past the mountain. I don't know why I grabbed that. Ooh, gem. Very useful. Poor Rhinoids used to be, area boss tier, but now they're just in the way. Well, that's an inconvenient place for a mine. Oops. Just did not push the right button at all and knew it. Thank you for no mushroom. Just gonna wait that one out. I was gonna check for stuff out in the lava, but nah. I get the feeling I wasn't supposed to press that button. Hi, Rock Chungus. Rip doggo. I feel a little bad beating them up, but they're also, you know, required to get through, so... Can't get hung up too long. Oops. Next time they should line up fairly well. Oh, or get me stuck under. Hey, maybe these assassins will actually do something to me. Nope. I almost feel bad for him. If only they weren't trying to kill me. Sorry, bats. Had to be so. Vortex 3. Vortex is kinda not good. Like, it would be most useful at level 1, honestly. Because once it hits level 2, it does damage while they're stuck in it. And that sounds like a good thing, but actually, it just means they're stuck in iframes all the time. So the fact that they're all bunched up is practically meaningless. This is where you actually want to sell stuff. I didn't know they had perfume for quite that much, or I would have kept mine. I've never had nearly this much money before, though. Once I hit Chapter 5, I'll be able to be really frivolous with just buying everything. See, the other two, once they eventually fight Halphus, they offer him mercy. They don't kill him, and it kind of makes him mad. But our hand is kind of forced this time, so I wonder what's going to happen. This area is slightly differently laid out, because it used to be a switch, and if you have it on the left, this one's down. If you have it on the right, this one. But seems this time they don't give you the option of direction. They're continuing to give me boatloads of money, though. I'm not sure why that was a platform block when there's nothing to platform in there, but I don't know, maybe just to make the coin hidden up there slightly more hidden. That's probably lowered the other drawbridge. Okay, this kind of takes. Jim. Not the end of the path yet. Okay, I have to go back the other way to get the key, then come back here. Suppose. Oh, hello. Ouch. Thank you for the raid. Right now I'm working my way through a level that took me down one of two paths that led to a switch that opened up the other path and then continued into a locked door. So I guess now I have to go back to the other path that I opened up to get the key, and then come back here. I think this game is really neat. Most things are not really necessarily very difficult, but it's very interesting in the way it plays out anyway. Like, you have a lot of combat options, and it still feels very rewarding to fight stuff, even if it's not necessarily difficult to win. The main mechanic of the game is between every chapter, decisions you made in that chapter determine who your main character is for the next one, because each chapter takes place between generations. And there's also a lot of long-lasting decisions you make in the items you pick up and how you utilize them. Because, this guy is really easy to cheese if you just keep doing this maneuver, but anyway. You'll pick up different kinds of items. There are large items that are temporary, they only last for that chapter. There are much smaller items that will carry over between chapters. And then there are goods, like wine, tea, pepper, stuff like that. And those you can either sell or trade at shops, except you can only visit individual shops at specific points, and they may not offer the same price at one point that they will later on. So sometimes you might, pick up perfume, we'll say, in Chapter 1. And the best time to actually get rid of that is in Chapter 4 or so, when they sell it for a lot more than they would in Chapter 1. Like, the difference between 100 or 800. But it's not always the best option to hold on to them, because having money earlier on can get you more items that you can use later, and they might not necessarily end up with a better price by the end than they would at some other point. Okay, now we're making progress. Huh, that assassin actually hit me. It's been a long-running joke that I've been able to kill assassins because they just kind of sit there and do animations when they spawn, and they just leave themselves very vulnerable. So let's see what we can do at this shop. Okay, these just sell MP restores, and I kinda don't need any right now. You can't, like, get consumables to use later. You use them as soon as you get them. So you kinda have to be resourceful because you also don't heal between levels. So, like, if you barely scrape through a boss, and it's, like, really close, you have almost no health or MP left, you still have almost no health or MP going into the next level. So you have to be really careful there. But they're also pretty generous with just leaving potions around for you to gather. I wouldn't say it's easy to soft lock yourself in that way. Like, nah, I haven't even come close to that kind of problem with it. Like, we just need to wait for the right timing. I should see if they have something down there in the pool, but not this time. In general, the combat engine plays a lot like more like a beat-em-up than anything, except you're 8 directions, obviously. Like, you have a basic combo. You can cancel out of your combo with a kick if you press jump. And then you can go from that back roll into a jump kick. And while you're crouching, you can press the jump button to do this uppercut slash. You can do a basic jump attack, or you can jump and hit the duck button to do this kind of falling attack. Or if you double jump and hit it, you'll do this plunge attack instead. So generally speaking, there's a lot of different options for attacks you can do. Okay, so I can either go back to where I saw that locked door, or I can break out this floor tile, because it's off-colored. I'm gonna check over here first, though I'm not sure I'll be able to go back. Hey. Magic power is a very good drop because it means you 1. fully heal your MP, and 2. have infinite for a short while. So if you're a little too sparing with your magic, getting that is a good opportunity to just go ballistic and fight as much as you want with it. Speaking of it, this jerk. Crystal Knight is probably my least favorite enemy in the entire game. Hello! I'm near the end. This game has been really enjoyable so far. I've actually played through 3 times, because the game has different branching paths depending on decisions you make earlier in the game. Yeah, I think it is. I remember it was some part of a series loosely, even though it's not much like the other game or games. So that must be the one. Arrow trap is gonna ruin me. Like, actually going to ruin me. Ooh, pendant. Pendant is an HP up that sticks between chapters. It is very valuable. But yeah, if you enjoy messing with, hold on a second. If you enjoy messing with mechanics closer to a beat-em-up type of game, I highly recommend this. It's been really enjoyable for me. And it's only about 9 hours for a single playthrough. They get faster the more you do because you're, you know, used to the areas and everything, but I think my first one was right around 9 or maybe 9.5 hours. Whoop. But I stopped in time. Well, if shmup is fair, then beatemup must be fair too, right? Oh, deer heads. A lot of them. Fortunately, they're susceptible to healing. They're poltergeists of some variety, but still deer heads. How this particular map works is there's a gate when you go straight through, and then there's a branch on either side. You have to clear the fixed encounter on both sides for the center to open up. One of the coolest things is if you kill enemies with magic, they have a chance to drop a +8 max MP, but it only lasts for the chapter. So if you're smart with your MP and use healing magic on undead or general damaging magic on other stuff, you can get yourself really big MP pools like I have here. Normally I'd be stuck with like 30 or 40 tops. And since you can turn 12 MP into like 40 HP, it really extends how long you can last in boss fights and stuff. But to me, that's a really cool, like, reward for consistent good play. Being wise with your resources and stuff. Ooh, gem. Gems are important. There are a few enemies that can drop them, and it's really important to kill them every time you come across them. The gems increase your damage, though only for the chapter. Yeah, the defense magic is actually pretty neat. It doesn't just reduce your damage intake, it also makes your sword swings larger while it lasts. So it's defensive numerically as well as in terms of your safe spaces and reach and stuff. It's for each chapter, which consists of anywhere from like 6 to 10 levels like this. But yes, it does, in a sense, carry relation to that wonderful game. It's probably the only game in that entire series of like 30 games that I did that I can just say cannot be redeemed with like some simple change. You would have to completely gut the entire engine and start over from scratch. Normally I wouldn't bother refighting this, but the orcs could have dropped the strength gems. And thankfully there's a boatload of potions and stuff around here, because it means I'm getting to the last room's full. Oh good, another jerk. Thank you very much for the bits. I hope you have a nice night too. Alright, now what do we have in the back here? Ah, it's you. The big boy. That's fine. I've definitely had the urge to dive right into games knowing they're terrible. I don't remember what it was I saw lately, but I definitely saw a game and just said, you know what, I kind of want to start this right now. And I almost did, but then I didn't. So, Vapula here, his whole thing is you can't hit him in the belly. It just bounces off. It's a bit silly, but it does make it a bit more interesting to figure out how to get good hits in. Oh hey, healing hurt him. And he's done. What did he just do? Did... Yeah, did he just fart on me and run away while I was... Never mind. I'm pretty used to the areas of Chapter 4 and 5 by now, because it is the third time going through them. This is kind of a problem, though. I feel like they've been making it harder the more clears I have. This was not happening the first or second time. Like, the first time I never saw spike traps that come down from the ceiling or deer heads, but in the second and third ones I did. And they are considerably more complexifying components than standard enemies. There's also a lot more deep and complicated combat rooms, like this one. I've got both Dark Nuts and Wizrobes. Alright, is it half this time? No, it's Crassel. Well, that's just mean. So this fight's not too hard, but you kind of just have to wait out cycles. Would you sit still? How much strength did I end up with? 116. That's okay, but not a lot. Fortunately, a little boring of a fight. Cost me a cycle. The reason I'm doing that particular attack is because you only get one hit no matter what, and that's the strongest thing you can do from neutral. Or at least tied for it. Alright, should be just one more. Nope, he hung on by a thread. And there we go. Only the 5th time I've fought him. He still deserves it. Okay. Hey, how dare you? There's got to be another one hiding somewhere. The switch room. The switches are still so... There's not really another word for it other than satisfying. The simple mechanism, but it's very tactile how they make you control it. It's not just go up to it and press button. You have to hold the button down, then press the button you want to pull it. It's very nice. Somebody's hiding out here. Oh, jerk. They use these things way too much for how annoying they are. Like, I've gotten to a point where I can take them out very systematically, but especially the first time you run into them, they're such a problem. What did you do to that poor Poto? Oh, leprechaun hat. See, Halfus always has this, like, death wish. Even once you beat him, he's, like, begging them to finish him off. And the other two always gave him mercy, despite that. And it's interesting that Halfus here puts a curse on us to where we have to kill him if we don't want to die ourselves. That happened right around the start of the chapter. He kind of zips around semi-randomly. You mostly just want to wait till he comes semi-close to you, instead of trying to get out to him. Otherwise, you're always going to be running around. Like, to be honest, he's really not hard enough to justify that, mercy. I mean, I guess the first time you might fall for his stuff too much if you're constantly running around to catch up. Now I'll take your healing. I don't think it matters, because I think this is the end of the chapter, but... Wait, no, there is another fight. Mood. Okay, Cressel still steals the swords, I guess. But we still have Azos. I'm not sure what he's planning. Okay, so we still leave him hanging anyway. So this is, I guess you would say, the gross dragon of the true dragons you end up fighting. He kind of has a problem for the first half of his health bar where he can just do this. He gets a little more AI later, so don't worry. But in the first half, when you're behind him, he doesn't know what to do other than Shockwave. You can just jump over it, he loses his iframes, and you can just hit him again. Now the second half begins. Remains the easiest dragon, though. And it's over. Like I said, by far the easiest dragon to cheese in the entire game. Okay, so he still gets the last sword anyway. Of course. Hmm. That's interesting. We end up going back to Jerome, the character from the previous chapter. I figured we would just stick with Anita. Hearing that his daughter had vanished without a trace, Jerome immediately set out to find her. While searching for her, news of a girl near Rax's castle that resembled Anita came in. Jerome departed for Rax's castle. But what he found of the former city was nothing but ruins infested with demons. So, in the other final chapters with the other routes, you end up doing a short segment where you don't have any of your carryover consumables from the previous chapter. And I suppose they keep that up in this one as well. This way. With setting you over to older Jerome. Oh, hey. Wasn't expecting that. Wow, these falling pillar angles are mean. I am just falling for all of them. Oh. Well, at least I got the 10. It's still there, it's just waiting for me to meet back up with Anita. Yeah, all of my stat up items, all of my money are all stuck with her. But yeah, they love using this point to throw enemies that would be no big deal before at you as, like, boss tier because you don't have your stat, and it works really well. Okay, I still have 11 MP, but it's not enough to do any casts, so I have to be careful with my health. What are these gonna do? Aha! Could have gotten a magic power if I was more careful. If I can get a gem drop from those, it would be much appreciated. No luck. Hey. Those flesh mitts to yourself. I was expecting him to do his weird poison mist thing. It's usually the only thing they do. This one. Okay, fortunately, this enemy is really easy to take out without any danger. A little gathering. Where was that kick going? Boy, this fight would suck if I didn't have the means to completely cheese these guys. I was gonna heal and then grab that, but I didn't have enough time. I'm curious if we're gonna keep Jerome or if we're gonna switch back to Anita. Quiet phone. So this next mission tends to be the hardest, like, in the entire game. But it's the last one before I get all my stuff back. Gem? So I apologize for bat slaying. Old man Jerome can't even two-shot boxes yet. 80 strength. Hiding in the corners here. Archers and a man. Hey, blame the same stigmatization that's pitting me against dragons. This is all just set up by the video game industry to make us think that bats and dragons are bad. I forgot this was over here. Fancy. Too many mines. Don't need that now, but I might soon. This room was a lot easier in this playthrough than it was in the last one. Last time I was up against one of those crystal knights in here with no stats. It was not pleasant. And here's where we find Anita. So in the other chapters, this was just a handoff to the new character of, you know, all their stats and duty and stuff. But we'll see if that sticks here as well. Raxus kind of already fell. We're kind of in the ruins right now. Neat, we do get to head back to Anita. In the others, you meet the character from Chapter 4 as the Chapter 5 character, and they're just too exhausted to keep going, so you take up their duty. But seems to not be so in this one. The only reason they brought Jerome back was to make sure there's parity with that itemless segment. Oh hey, we still have our temporary items too. That's incredible. I've never got to carry those between chapters, so that's unique to Anita. See, bats are friends. They give you gems. Then you're stronger. Bat. Problem is, I'm still weaker because I don't have a magic sword for now. Not much weaker, but it's usually a pretty noticeable impact between having it and not. Those aren't going to go back down. That. So that means there's usually a button. The hitboxes on those are pretty hard to avoid, really. Yeah, for comparison, these beetles would just take 2 combos normally. But now they're just sponges because I don't have a magic sword. I don't think it actually augments your strength stat, it just kind of... Having magic sword is inherently more damaging than not. So until we're done in here, the damage is still going to be not fantastic. The stingrays take a long time to despawn, but they can drop gems. Important. I hate these traps. Like, one of the few things in the game I'm really not sure how to consistently deal with. These things are activated by lightning once it blows up. If you have only level 1 or 2 thunder, it's not gonna hit it instantly. You have to wait for it to detonate. There's a potion in the base of that. Oh, I don't have a key. Hello, Wingy Boy. I feel bad for your AI pattern. The problem with stingrays is you can't really hit them with normal attacks while they're rising, and you can't hit them with rising attacks until they're all the way up. And once they die, they just kind of hang there for a full couple seconds. I'm basically strong enough to take the final boss right now, and I have a lot more to gain because I got to keep my... Well, mostly the chalices and scrolls are making up most of it. But also 5 gems, definitely helping. Normally you don't get to keep any of those, so... Yeah, those spears are still up. It was over here. There was the locked door I couldn't do. I think so. Yeah, past these. Mystic Warriors are some of the most advanced AI normal enemies in the game. But once you know what to do, you can kind of clean them up pretty easily. Heal 3. Much appreciated. She is also like the least armored character in the entire set. Like, unless you count oof as armor, but has huge shoulders and huge thighs. So it's time for the obligatory exposition. Where we'll learn what the swords are and what the dragons are. So, dragons are aliens. And the swords are angels. And we're the descendants of gods. And eagerness is the most powerful and ultimate thing in ever that can never be defeated or lose. And if we don't win, everything will be gone forever. So these shops are basically where you dump all of your money and the stuff you didn't use up by now. I'm gonna sell the wine because I don't think I can use it for anything anymore. But the harp I'm gonna keep, as that might be a trick. Even if not, it's only 10. Like, the difference between 0 and 10 when I have 3,300 isn't much. Alright, time for weird music, because we're in Weird World. Nice, we have the spinny overhead jump slash now. That might just be a property of Ignis. Oops. Wasn't even paying attention and ran straight into that. I only checked because they can drop a bunch of things, including rarely a gem. $55 and $60. Sometimes I try to do the jump attack and just accidentally do too low of a hop. I think this is the first time I've been strong enough to sometimes skip over when zombies fall in half and waste like 3 seconds of sitting there in iframes animating. It's always seemed like hard-coded that they will always do that no matter what, but this is the first time I've demonstrated being able to kill them before it happens. As for why I'm still bothering picking up single coins when I have so many, I'll just pretend it's because Anita's father is a thief. Jerk. Jerk. Okay, this is the one where you can dump a whole bunch of money if you have it. The talisman is, as ever, the most important item here, but being able to easily afford the chalice is something I haven't been able to do in the past. Because talismans are defense. And with this low of a scaling of numbers, each one just reduces your damage taken by 1, but that pays huge dividends over time. One of the biggest tricks in the majority of stages, if you just go back the way you came as soon as they spawn you, there's usually something hiding there. Not always, but it's pretty often. Let's see what happens if I use defense level 3 while I have this huge sword. Okay. That's large. And still noisy, but I'll accept it being a little noisy for being able to hit half the screen. Okay, I guess I'm taking the stairs first. Usually you go over there, then you go back and take the stairs, but not so this time. Also, the magic power wore off before I could find something to hit. Ah, they just put that little button there. Alright, have a nice evening. Oop. Wandered just a little too close. I wonder if there's a easier way to beat those, but that's the most dependable way I've found. Usually there's a fight over there, but it seemed, honestly, a little, pointless, I guess, to say, in that particular instance. It's just you have to divert up the stairs, then back down, then over there, fight a couple of basically stationary obstacles. And then go back to where the button was. Oh, it's a jerk again. fairly easy area. There's like one or two more before the end. Yeah, I think just two more areas. Ooh, if I had kept the perfume I could have sold for that I sold for 200 last chapter, I could instead have another set of earrings. Which would have mean more MP cost reduction. Which is pretty huge for how much I use heal, which is very expensive. Yeah, these kind of things you just kind of can't know unless you look it up ahead of time or have already played through. So when you choose to hold on to or get rid of items can have a significant impact on what you can get later on. Either with money or trading. So this area is a little annoying because there are a bunch of areas where you can fall, and if you do, you go back to that stump earlier. I guess we'll get to see in a second. I wasn't trying to, but I do typically like to fall in each of these rooms to see if there are any items. Oh. Actually, I might have had to come down at some point to hit that button. That probably opened a door up above. That switch, though, just opens this, I think. Hey, fancy. I don't know why I'm still picking up money, because I think that was the last shop other than... Well, the last shop for buying actual items earlier. Which means I have done far too much money hoarding rather than going for stuff. But that's okay. It's not super important to really optimize your stuff acquisition. Just get as much as you can and it'll be good enough. Hey, gem. I think that room I wouldn't have been able to pass through if I hadn't hit that, that button down below. Nice. You ever just spawn in a room, have enemies directly poised over spike traps that hurt them? Randomly generated doesn't count. Has to be something that was deliberately made that way. Last shop, it's probably just going to have refill stuff, though I would prefer to have more stuff to buy. So, Dungeons of Eternity is the last area, but it's rather long. The first area, in this room there are 4 of these lightning actuators we need to hit. But all of them except for that one we have to go around side rooms with obstacle courses to come back here to where those switches are. There are fans up there. They're very noisy. I'm sure they're gonna try to knock me back down here before I can get to the thing, but I'll have to be wary of that once I get up there. will-o-wisps just sound disappointed when you kill them. Like, aww. Let's do closest first. Want to get this fan shenanigans dealt with. At least this part of the dungeon has neat music. The second and much more annoying part has much more annoying music to fit. Oh nice. He's already one-shotting boxes. I just need to make sure I don't crush the one I need. As I recall, one of these is going to have a switch that I need to get through the other. Hopefully I picked right. Neat. I went the key direction. That slime can live. Oh, hi. This could be annoying. I don't think I've ever had two of these at once. These are mostly only easy when there's one and you can single it out. Well, that wasn't quite what I was expecting either. Maybe I need to go to those ones at all? I don't think I did. Now that I think about it. Alright, fans, stop doing fan thing. So over here there are definitely 2 obstacle courses. I'm gonna try not to go further into this room. It's probably going to spawn Wizrobes or Sorceresses, which are also Wizrobes. Or, you know, more of these, but much easier to have fewer than more. Darn it. Trying to heal those. Give me a thing, please. Well, fine. I burned a lot of MP on those. Fortunately, I'm not actually too worried about my safety or running out before I can refill somewhere. Time to figure out where this pillar is exactly. I'm gonna watch that platform's shadow if I know how far up it goes. Or it's not gonna show me. Also fair. I'm gonna guess it's 1 tile away from the wall, though. Alright, 1 more switch to go. I'm gonna go back through these rooms instead of jumping down and going through the front way. I want to make sure there's not, like, stuff down here. Oh, I could have jumped back up anyway. I didn't see this. Okay, once I get through this room, we'll be done with the majority of the first area. The rest is just the transitionary period to where the second area starts. Didn't seem like anything down in the muck, so I'm not gonna burn some health checking. Oh good, it's a jerk. You have no idea how much trouble that enemy type has put me through in earlier playthroughs, so I'm glad to be strong enough to just tear them apart by now. So out there in the back is where the final boss is. But I need the gold key, which is over here in a completely different segment of dungeon. Oh, hi, Rock Demon. I remember back when I had trouble with you, before I realized how your mechanics worked. The thing with them is they will block any attack that doesn't do a certain amount of your damage potential, which means basic attack combos other than the finisher won't work at all. And attacks like that. So that's the reason why I was just going in with the jump attack. That's one of the few things that'll instantly be doing enough damage to register. Jerk. That's not the spell I want. That could have ended badly. I'm kind of dangerously low there. Okay, and now we go back to weird music for the second half. The first time I came to this part, I was lost for a good while before I just looked up what I was missing. Oh, thank you. These platforms are annoying. I worry they're motion sickness inducing. Trying to think, might be going the wrong way already, but I'll check one room further to mentally confirm. I guess you can just beat those up. I was worried you had to do, like, high attacks to make sure you're hitting the eye part, but nope. Ow. This is a little different than the layout I'm used to. So this might be the correct way to go first. Yeah, from here I go... I'm gonna check... I want to say there's a door to the right and up is the way you want to go first. Nope, I'm wrong. Also, I apologize for these platforms being kind of, I guess, probably motion sicknessy. Oh. Mushroom trap. The key I have is not for that. This area is also, unfortunately, combat light and puzzle and platforming heavy, so it's kind of... I mean, I guess it's a decent test of your abilities to navigate, but... there's not really much in the way of stuff that's fun to fight. Wait, I needed to go back across to hit the button. That's right. Okay. And this is gonna be the wrong way. If I go down there, I'm just gonna see most of a room that I can't access, and the part that I can access has nothing in it. There's supposed to be a key there, but it doesn't spawn unless you've been to the other part of the room, which you come to from a completely different fork from earlier in the dungeon. That's kind of the big gotcha that made me lose a lot of time the first time coming through here. I didn't realize that there was another path I needed to take to make that room do more stuff. I thought I was just stuck. So I need to go all the way back to the first moving, controllable platform room and take a different branch from there. At least this stuff is all clear and I can just go through it now. Those assassins kinda yeeted on by. Like, okay, see ya. There's more restoratives over there. These are annoying. Mostly the slime's getting in the way, but they're both getting in the way of each other in a way that's rather distracting. I can easily deal with just the slimes or just the convicts, but the two have completely incompatible ways to deal with them, and I'll take that, though. Thank you. All is forgiven. So this is the room. This is a switch you can pull in all 4 directions, and each direction opens different gates here. You have to find the combinations that lead to what you're going for. Hello. Yeah, I'm doing alright. I'm just about through with the final dungeon here. Then we can go do some dragon fighting. They switched up the solution on me. Turns out I should have gone this direction first because the key spawns over here and the button to spawn it is over there. The game has tricked me again. Meaning this segment continues to be the worst segment. I should have just checked the back once I realized I was that far down the wrong way, but I thought I knew what I was gonna see when I went down there. That was wrong. But yeah, we just have one last puzzle to solve, but it's gonna take quite a bit of running to actually get it solved. But on the bright side, once I'm out of this particular zone, it'll just be the last boss fights. So now the final key has spawned up there. But we can't get there from here. Fortunately, we can let this hand grab us. Let this hand grab us. And this should take us back to, yeah, the start, which is much more convenient for getting where we're going. There we go. Let's see, the locked door over here, or was it in the other one? It was the other. Go back down this branch one last time. And we will be truly done, I promise. Oops. I was completely looking away and forgot there were mines there. So from here, I should be able to go left. Yes. And then this will take us back to the main area. And now that we have the gold key, we can just head on through. Which requires fighting through this room to... We are technically in a different area, so the keys we had in the other area don't count here. Those are the last refill items they give you, which, fortunately, I don't need anyway. And here we go. First we have a refight with this jerk. So this is roughly the same fight as last time, except now sometimes the platforms don't go down as easily. Other than that, it's still knock him down, then get your one hit in. Repeat until it's over. So far, he's playing along rather nicely. Be 2, maybe 3 more hits. Oh no, skeletons are back. What will I do? And it's over. You don't belong in this world. Okay. Now we're heading out to the end. Castle didn't even get a hit in on me, so I'm still full. The inside of his mouth looks like the inside of a watermelon. Just putting that out there. Yeah, I was wondering what they were going to do, but it seems to just be the same thing, but with Jerome instead of the other twin. I guess, like, if it's your only time playing through the game, they should have some sort of parity, which I guess is a general disconnect between this and Threads of Fate, where they go out of their way to make the two as different as possible. He's being quite the jerk this time for me. Those of you who missed it, that was him going vulnerable for few enough frames for me to have an attack that was already in his face connect. There you go. Whenever it makes that sound, it means he's not in vulnerable frames. Okay, phase 2. So to win this phase, you have to get him to 0 HP, which causes him to collapse. And while he's down, you have to hit him in the head with a strong attack. Just like that. It speaks, and it makes a horrible noise. Yeah, her forehead isn't marked anymore either. Yeah, unfortunately, even the ending is basically the same scene, but with different models and lines. So Jerome's the one carrying her. That's kind of cute. Nice. Kind of like the family dynamic there. Oh, she's still suspended with... and he's not... whatever. Alright, so... that's all 3 routes cleared. I guess we'll see what happens as a result once we're post-credits, but... yeah, like, they have enough different in the areas, despite the areas largely being the same places. Like, sometimes they'll have different obstacles or harder enemies in different measures from place to place. Between the first 2, I thought it was just each one you do, it gets harder, but no, there are ways that some places get harder and some that they get easier. So it's probably just differences between the routes. I don't know, it could be both. I may see if I can loop the file again and do the first route again on my own time, not on stream, and see if that's any different. But yeah, it's actually been a lot of fun playing through this game. exploring the differences and getting better at handling the same things and accommodating for what's not the same and all that stuff. Like, if you have any amount of interest in game engines that are like beat-em-ups, that's definitely what this game. There's a lot to think about in terms of collecting things early to have more later, and when and how to use things you pick up to accommodate for the long run. There's probably a easily defined best way to distribute the items you find in shops, but you won't know it unless you either look it up or have played through before. There's no way to go back to old deals or anything like that. So it's kind of an interesting decision you have to make as you're going. Like, do I like this deal? Do I think I'm gonna be offered better sometime? Stuff like that. I've definitely misused some things and properly used some things each time, and that's fine. It's good to... I think it's good to deal with not having, you know, the perfectly optimal setup or anything. Doing your best to come up with something that's good enough. Like, the game doesn't really rub it in your face too much, even though you get to plainly see all of the deals that you can't make in exchange for ones you made at another time. At this point, I'm just kind of waiting out the credits to see what happens after. Because as far as I know, I've fought all of the different dragon bosses on the different routes in the game, and that's the main thing they've been spurring me to do in trying the different routes. Because, like, the post-credits screen says something to the effect of, you did really well, but there are still dragons to be slain. And now that I've apparently fought all of the ones that are to be fought, I wonder what happens. Yeah, because you have the same character in 4 and 5, they just show her twice, I guess. Nice. Cool. I have earned the congratulatory screen. Yeah, 25 hours over 3, so on average, each one was a little over 8 hours. This last one was considerably less, I think, but the first one was 9. I think they were something like 9, 8, and 7, roughly. A little higher than that. Yeah, I'm glad to be through all of this. It was a good journey. Anyway, now that we have everything, let's go through the gallery real quick. We start off with all of the different playable characters. Including old Jerome. And then they have the different people you can rescue and marry and there's this jerk. This was easily the hardest fight in the entire game. All routes. Old Clovis was an interesting boss fight. You have all of the different dragon bosses. Tempest was kind of a jerk. Thunder was easy. Hades was interesting. It was definitely one of the most involved dragon fights. Talon is extremely easy. And then Dahaka is just standard dragon mold, but more of a jerk with iframes. And then the weird prison thing. And now we just have some miscellaneous promotional. I wish these didn't have, like, image illustration over them, or I might have used one for something. movie resources. These are the stills that they use in the Disc 2 intro. They kind of have kind of wiggly images. They do the whole Romancing Saga remaster thing. Some sketches. These must be early concepts. A lot of these I don't recognize. Uh-huh. So the way this gallery stuff works is ever since you clear any file, you can bring this up and see anything that you've seen the in-game content for. A lot of these concept sketches are pretty different from what we ended up with, and I get the feeling a lot of that was just due to PlayStation restrictions. Some of this is kind of hard to render the unique aspects they have drawn in this kind of engine. That must be Wilhelm. No, wait, no, that's Volef. Some of these, though, completely indistinguishable from anyone I've seen in the game. Like, who the heck is that? Of course, a lot of people that might have had unique models just wound up having free skins. Like, you look at one character and it's like, oh, this is just Clovis but with yellow clothes. Stuff. So I guess they could have had some more unique character models if they were fitting these kind of designs, but then they just decided to cut a corner, which is totally fine. The character you see for up to 2 hours doesn't need to be completely unique, I think. Especially if you hand wave that they're all in the same family line. It's okay for them to look pretty similar from model distance at PSX quality. There's a lot of really interesting designs that were, I guess, more or less scrapped when they kind of brought things into the scope of the project. This would have been like top tier uh, last decade wallpaper material. You know, when everybody was taking arts and making generic wallpapers out of them. This would have been right up there with it. Okay, and that's all of them, it looks like. So, that's enough for me for tonight, then. Tomorrow, I'm going to be cracking into something rather different. I'm going to be starting up Golden Sun, the original one. I played through a significant amount of it a long time ago, like a long time ago, but I never finished it. So we'll see how that goes, and if it goes well, I'll probably queue up the second and possibly third games. Not immediately, but somewhere in the pipe. Why are they starting Clovis with that much HP and MP? That's not legal. But yeah, that should be fun. I'm looking forward to getting through that game finally. What is this demo doing? But anyway. As always, I want to thank everybody for coming out. Always nice to have that company. I hope to see you again next time. Have a nice evening, and take care.